Hello and welcome to the Final Whistle with me, Daniel Waterson, looking back at Hibs' 2-0 win over Hamilton Accies at the weekend. Coming up, we have post-match reaction from Paul Heckingbottom, definite goal scorer Flo Kamberi, and then there's the usual post-match reaction from myself and James. But first, let's remind ourselves of the goals with Hibs TV's Cliff Pike and Keith Reid.
Milligan finds Stevenson out in the far touchline. Stevenson has Horgan behind him. Horgan cuts inside, decent cross. Kamberi, he did. I don't think Flo Kamberi got a touch on that, or did he? He's certainly claiming it. It's in the back. It's in the back of the net. I thought Kamberi was stretching. It didn't look like he got a touch on it. Daryl Horgan's ball in, but if he did, all credit to him. Good finish from the big Swiss striker.
Oh, he might have just got a toe on it, possibly.
The two studs at the front of the boot, I think, maybe just got that way. He was stretching everything there, Flo Kamberi. But as we said, Daryl Horgan coming in from the wing, plays the ball in there. Stevenson flicks the ball in. Kamberi, can he get it under? Reaches David Gray, nods it back in. David Gray taking out the play. It's a penalty. Lenny Soa absolutely clattered into David Gray there as the Hibs skipper was trying to nod the ball back down into the path of Flo Kamberi, and Alan Muir pointed straight to the spot.
Yeah, I don't think there was any doubt about that. He cleaned him out.
It was a clumsy challenge.
It was.
McNulty right-footed into the back of the net. Cracking penalty from Mark McNulty. 38 minutes on the clock. Hibs 2, Hamilton Academical 0.
Absolutely clinical penalty from Mark McNulty.
I'm going to try and be profound as one chapter closes on the history of Hibs. A nice piece of closure today as it's a 2-0 win and as comfortable and routine a performance as I'm sure Paul Heckingbottom would have been hoping for.
Yeah, it's very Shakespeareran of you. It's
we could just kind of finish it there, couldn't we?
It was very logical. Yeah, I mean a very comfortable win. A much needed win as well. Obviously, with any new manager, the first thing to do is get off to a good start. And you don't want to say this is the perfect game because we've been there before, and this has been the perfect game for a new manager, and this has been the perfect game to kind of reassert this run of form. But this kind of was the perfect game for Paul Heckingbottom to come in. It's a game that we're expected to win and that we should have won, and that we never really looked in danger of not winning. And a game, at Hamilton side we've already beaten 6-0 this season, and who honestly didn't look an awful lot better than.
Haven't scored a goal against us in 3 games,
which bizarrely for Hamilton is quite an impressive record for us against Hamilton, because they seem to be a bit of a bogey side for us at times, or have been in the past. So yeah, I mean, take it. There's some impressive moments there. It wasn't a huge change from the previous weeks, but it's a win's a win. 3 points is 3 points, and good start for Paul and Robbie.
We would, common sense would just dictate that Eddie May and Grant Murray will have had kind of a lot of say in the preparation for the team and the setup this week, given that the new manager only had a couple of sessions with them. So if you're Paul Heckingbottom and you're standing on the sidelines watching that, what do you think he's learnt about the team that he's got?
Yeah, it's a difficult one for a guy who's only had maybe 1 or 2 training sessions with this squad. I think he would have seen we're up for it, and we certainly looked up for it today. If everybody was very committed and flying into challenges and really going for it, I think he would have seen a good sort of core that I think we all accept could be improved. And certainly a few very good players. I thought Daryl Horgan was excellent again today. I thought Mark McNulty I was impressed with, having been kind of, I wouldn't say unimpressed by him in his previous games, but maybe thinking he was still finding his feet. I thought him and Flo were linking up a little bit better today. There was times when they were sort of drifting apart again, but I thought the physical presence that Mark McNulty brought, and he looks a little bit fitter as well. He looks like he's had time to kind of work on getting back to match fitness, because a guy who's not played a lot of football for Reading this season. I think he would have seen that 16,000 in the ground today, which is not a bad attendance for given where we are and given where we are in the season, are desperate for somebody to come in and maybe not sort of put a rocket up these players, but kind of nurture them and see them playing to their full potential. So positive signs, good way to start the Paul Heckingbottom era.
It's something we touched on Hibs TV at half time. There's no perfect time for a manager to come into a club, because it means that someone that's been very popular has moved on to a new job, or they're coming in where maybe someone's not been deemed not good enough. So for Paul Heckingbottom, it's almost like a perfect time, I think, for a manager, as close to perfect a time as you can get. We can be kind of blunt and say that the league campaign is pretty much a bust. Alright, we're competing for top 6, but other than kind of financial gain, does that really mean much to fans? And then we've got a free hit at the cup still, but this guy now has 2 or 3 months, maybe about 10-12 games to weigh up a squad, start already planning for next season. And the big thing is that, as we've said probably a dozen times now in this podcast this season, it's not a bad squad.
It's not, and I think that there's 2 ways of looking at it. On the one hand, it's not great for him to come in kind of in February, where he's effectively, not going to recruit his own personnel and not kind of assess what needs done to the squad quickly and change it. At the same time, it does give him what we've got in February now, so we've got 3 months effectively to look at the squad, look at what needs changing, have a proper in-depth discussion about who needs to be moved on, who can be kept, who can be retained, who is going to progress under his tutelage. And I honestly believe that the biggest gift we can give Paul Heckingbottom and Robbie Stockdale at the moment is patience. Paul Heckingbottom, from all accounts, did a fantastic job at Barnsley. He was very big on promoting youth players, on finding gems in the lower leagues, improving them, selling them on, and repeating the process. He said in his interview, he had a huge turnover of players, but he was still achieving consistent finishes with Barnsley, with one of the smallest budgets in the league in the Championship in around mid-table. He took them to Wembley and they won I think it was still the Johnson's Paint Trophy at that point. Against Michael Appleton's Oxford, bizarrely. He took them up that season when they were middling in League One when he took over. So I think that, at a very base level, at a core level, I think he's a good appointment. But like I say, he's going to need time to have a look at the squad. He's going to need time to imprint his own philosophy on the squad as well. And it's not going to be a quick fix. And it's not as if we're going to be absolutely shooting up the league, immediately. I think you kind of saw that in his time at Leeds as well, where he gets given 4 months and no transfer windows. And I think because the Leeds job is so cutthroat, we've all seen the Damned United. I'm certainly not comparing Paul Heckingbottom with Brian Clough, but it is a very cutthroat job. I think anybody who's moved on in favour of Marcelo Bielsa is probably fair enough. I certainly haven't seen any spies in the stand today. But it's the early signs are positive. But like I say, it is going to take a little bit of time for him to assess where we are, where he thinks we can go, and where we will be going next season.
The reaction is kind of surprised me almost, and I'll give you credit here. He was the first name you mentioned to me at St Mirren a few weeks ago.
Say that again.
What else do you know?
Say that again.
But yeah, it was the first name you touted. We've spoke before about how down south in the Championship we're seeing this influx of kind of young German coaches, and it means that managers down there are maybe getting trapped in the wilderness way more than before. I'm sure if it was this time 5 years ago, Paul Heckingbottom would have left Leeds, and by the end of that month would have been, I don't know, the Norwich manager or something like that. Whereas like Steve Clarke, like Neil Lennon, like Owen Coyle, okay, that one didn't really work out, like Derek McInnes, guys are maybe just getting lost in the doldrums, and it's to the benefit of Scottish football that they're coming up here. And I mean, I'm sold on him after the first couple of press conferences. It's not just the accent, but there's kind of waves of Tony Mowbray in there when he's speaking.
Yeah, absolutely, and that's not to say that there are no sort of good coaches in Scotland, because there are, but you're absolutely right. I think you kind of look at the sort of glitzy and kind of opulent world of the Premier League, and you kind of look at the riches that they have down there. Obviously that kind of trickles down to the Championship, and the Championship is kind of becoming a little bit like that now, particularly in the top half. There's a lot of big teams in the Championship who are spending big money similar to what Wolves did last season, where they went out and spent, and you're absolutely right.
I think it says a lot about the Championship that Aston Villa paid $3 million for John McGinn, and £3 million is being called the bargain of the season.
Absolutely, and I mean, you look at guys, what was was at Stoke a couple of weeks ago, sent Peter Crouch to Burnley and paid them £10 million for Sam Vokes, which, you know, I don't know if Sam Vokes listens to this podcast, but I'm going to go out here and say I don't think he's a £10 million player. You know, so you're absolutely right. It is. I think it's good for us, because I think, you know, as much as I don't want to necessarily say it pains me to say this, the likes of Brendan Rodgers, of Steve Clark, Steven Gerrard coming here and having a positive impact on the teams that they've gone to, I think it's going to open the door for a lot more managers like that. Paul Heckingbottom is clearly an intelligent manager. He's still young. I think he's only 41, which is not old in any way for a manager at all. He's clearly sort of not spent his time off just sitting on the sofa. You know,
going for a PhD is a way to really kill your time.
You know, and he's talking about visiting other clubs around the UK and around Europe and seeing how they're working and how they're training. He's obviously got a really good brain for the game. You know, I think that he's similar to Tony Mowbray in a way, where he's kind of gone from youth coach up to manager. Obviously Tony Mowbray came here for his first spell as manager. Paul Heckingbottom's kind of had that experience already as being the man in the hot seat. I think it's a different job altogether coming up here than it is being down at Leeds or down at Barnsley. It's kind of, in a bizarre way, I guess our expectations are maybe right in the middle of those two teams, where Barnsley is just, I don't know, from the outside looking in, Barnsley is, they want to be in the second tier and at least surviving in the second tier. Leeds effectively, you know, want to be in the Premiership. I guess that ours is probably kind of in the middle, where we want to consistently be challenging for Europe in Scotland, at least having a good go at a European campaign and having a really good go at the cups as well.
I wonder if that's something these English managers are confused by, going for cups.
Yeah, exactly. It is odd, because you kind of, you know, you see these guys coming up here, and I think Barnsley, did they get, I mean, that was about 10 years ago, but they got like all the way to the semis. They beat Chelsea and Liverpool, I think, on the way there, and they had this great run in the cup. But I mean, really, like, that's kind of the only, and apart from sort of winning the Johnson's Paint Trophy and the playoffs at Wembley a few times, that's kind of, it is their cup final. It is a cup final, I guess. But yeah, I mean, here it's a different job, because you're already established in the Premier League. You're already a big name in Scottish football, and you're kind of expected not to kind of have instant success, but at least be chasing success. And you wonder if that's going to if that does put a lot of guys off, and that expectation does put a lot of guys off, or it surprises them, you know, when they do come up here. Having said that, you know, for a guy like Paul Heckingbottom, he's obviously an intelligent guy, and I'm sure he'll be good at managing expectations at the moment. But he's ambitious. You can certainly see that. You know, it takes a lot to kind of give him the sort of fervent feeling of the teams in Yorkshire to walk away from one Yorkshire team and go 10 miles down the road to like one of their big rivals and pitch up in the hot seat there. So he's certainly, you know, not a man who's restricted by his own ambition, and time will tell, you know, as we've already said. But I think, you know, it's the right type of manager, and you know, like I say, it'll remains to be seen whether Paul Heckingbottom is the guy, but early signs were good today.
Yeah, it'll be interesting to see how much he actually changes going up to Dens Park, because would you drastically overhaul what is for the last couple of games been a winning setup? The only kind of massive difference I seen today was in the warm-up, where it was pressing exercises in the warm-up as opposed to the usual sort of passing drills we've seen. It was a big mass game of Piggy in the middle, and I think maybe off the pitch as well as on it, it feels now we're all ready to move on. I mean, we've seen Leanne Dempster do a press conference yesterday. It was about 15 minutes. We've seen her do the interview for Hibs TV. It was about 20 minutes. So she'll be another one who's just desperate to say the Neil Lennon era is over, it's time to move on. And in amongst all the kind of hysteria and maybe divisiveness that's come from the last couple of weeks, people maybe forget that Leanne Dempster and George Craig are 2 for 2 for managerial appointments, so they know exactly what they're looking for to bring success to this club. Yeah,
it's not a bad effort, is it? Or not a bad record. And you know, they certainly have the keys to success. I mean, I don't think anybody can disagree that the last couple of years and since the two of them have come in have been right up there with some of the best periods in the club's history. You talk about consistency of getting to Hampden, of getting into finals, of winning trophies, of winning a trophy, one in particular, of gaining promotion from the Championship, of coming up last season and being one of the best sides in the Premiership. It was always going to be difficult to recreate that this season. Obviously, whatever's gone on has gone on, and it's been decided that Neil Lennon's reign here was untenable. But we've seen kind of how efficient their scouting can be on the pitch and off it. There's a lot of good people. I think Leanne Dempster said that in her interview, that are working at this club, and a lot of very talented people who are working at this club. And I think the structure is in place for somebody to come in and really make a good go of it. Hopefully Paul Heckingbottom's that man.
And let's take a moment to really think of Eddie May and how delighted he must have been to have just sat behind his desk on Monday morning.
Yeah, he would have been there.
Watered his plant,
lined up his pencils, you said.
Yeah. I mean, bet he forgot his password for logging in. Bet he forgot his password. Listen, Eddie and Grant, I don't think we're expecting to be stepping into that role at any point this season. I think they gave it a good go. I certainly don't think there's anything you can fault them on, really. They weren't expected to be in the job long term, and what they did while they were here was good. They kind of guided us to through the cup and guided us down away when it's St Mirren. It's been difficult defeats at Celtic, at home to Aberdeen, but I don't think anybody can say that they didn't do everything asked of them. And in the transitional period, they gave it their best effort. So they're back to the day job now and back to doing what they're obviously quite good at doing.
More shortly, but let's hear from new manager Paul Heckingbottom speaking with Hibs TV.
Paul, first game in charge, you'd have been delighted with the way that things went.
Yeah, first and foremost the result, obviously. But then just a little bit, we didn't have much time to work with the players, so we tried to keep it really simple and just focus on one or two things, and we could see them trying that, which was great. So that's pleasing. The clean sheet was fantastic, because we know no matter what, you're going to have to defend, and people are not shying, just putting the ball in your box and fighting for second balls, and that was the big threat today, and we stood up to it, so pleased all round. You
did say that you like to see your team pass the ball, and we certainly tried to do that today.
Yeah, and we'll continue to try and do it. I think we've got the players to do that. We'll not get it right all the time, but that's what we want to do. So that'll be the case. But we want to be a threat in all sorts of ways as well. Set plays and the counter-attack, build up. Whatever we have to do to score a goal, we'll try and get better in each phase of it. But on the flip side of that, you've got to be good when they've got the ball as well, and like I said, that was a pleasing part today.
We did seem to be in control of the game, certainly up until we scored. Now, can you clear up the question of did Flo Kamberi get a touch on it or not?
I've not asked. I think they're both claiming it, so wait and see who the panel gives it to.
It's one of those ones that, if he didn't get a touch on it, he's doing what good strikers do, though. He got into the position to make a nuisance of himself and distract the goalkeeper. Yeah, and we can take a lot from that goal. It was virtually everything we've been asking the players to do against that sort of shape with a diamond. Trying to get the ball wide, we worked it one way with a switch. They shift their diamond over, work it back the other way where they can't quite get across. So we get 2v1 cross, and we've got three bodies in the box. Fantastic ball in, and that was a really pleasing bit, and hopefully the players can take confidence from it. Daryl Horgan, I thought, had a real good game. He played out wide today, which many fans think is his best position. He's been chopped and changed a bit. Do you see him as a winger?
I've seen where he's effective, that's it, but I've seen most of him as a winger, so he's a player who I saw a lot in Ireland when he was at Barnes. He was one we were looking at, but got priced out of it when he went to Preston, so I've seen Daryl hell of a lot more than he thinks, so he's one of the players who probably know strengths and weaknesses already.
And the penalty kick, it's one of those ones that if you get it, you're happy. If it goes against you, you'd probably not be quite so happy, but stroked away nicely by Mark McNulty.
I think it's a foul. You see, there was Davey got two more of them in the game, didn't he, which were giving us fouls. It doesn't matter where they are, it's a foul, but and I think it came at a good time for us, put us in control, and then it'd have been nice to get the third when we start the second half really brightly, but then that's why it's so pleasing to keep a clean sheet, then to keep the pressure off and see the game out.
So from your point of view, you'll have seen enough today to give you food for thought. You've now got a full week ahead before the Dundee game to work with the lads on the training pitch and get some of your ideas across.
Yeah, it'll be more information into players, how we want to work, hopefully how we're looking to improve. Just mindful that that's our numbers there. We small group now, covering a few injuries, and obviously suspension, so we can't afford any more dropping. And me getting him in every day, I'll have to look at what I'm doing with him. But I need to, because we need to get information into him. We need him together. We need him to keep looking to improve.
It'll be a tough one against Dundee at Dens Park. They got a good result today against Livingston, but these games are really important for us. Hamilton today, Dundee, St Johnstone. If we can take points from those games, we're right back in that mix for the top 6.
Yeah, they're all important. If we're looking now at 7 games left for the top 6 to try and get in the top 6, so that makes every game vital, no matter who we're playing, and that's going to be his approach. So we'll try and prepare properly for each of the teams. Try and set up in the right way, give everything like the boys did today, so that's why I can't ask any more when they give that.
There was a football match today, let's talk about that. So it was the same starting 11, same setup with the diamond. We've talked about the change in the warm-up as well, and from the off, Hibs were just kind of comfortable. It was fairly routine without ever being spectacular. In the opening 10 minutes, Kamberi has a good touch and there's a very good save, and the follow-up's blocked, and then Milligan shoots wide. McMillan then has a half chance for Hamilton, but Marciano spills a shot, then does well to recover it, and the opening goal comes. I am waxed lyrical about Daryl Horgan far too many times now, but there's a reason for that. It's because every time I say it, he's just set up a goal with a spectacular cross. I'm going to give the goal to Flo Kamberi. I think he gets the touch that looks like there's too much of a change in direction for me, and that just the perfect start.
Yeah, Daryl Horgan got a great goal last week against Wraith on his left foot, showing just how two-footed he is. That great cross in from his right, and it's one of those that's horrible to defend against. It forces the entire Hamilton defence to be facing their goal. It's difficult for Gary Woods. It's bouncing right across him, and I mean, he doesn't ever really sort of get near it. Nice ball in. I didn't think Flo Kamberi got a touch the first time I saw it. I've seen a replay and I'm now thinking he might have got something off the studs. He could do with a goal, so we'll give him it. But it was one of those that, even though we hadn't created that many clear-cut chances, it felt like it had been coming.
Yeah.
It's like Daryl Horgan again. Great cross for Ollie Shaw in the game against Hamilton away, cross now for Flo Kamberi in the game against Hamilton at home. So long may that continue, and I think Daryl Horgan is one of those players that Paul Heckingbottom will be looking at and going, he's one guy that we can start to sort of build this team around, and definitely a really important player at the core of this Hibs team.
So we go 1-0 up. I kind of think at that point we're going to take the game by the scruff of the neck, go on and get another few, but it was a weird reaction to going a goal up. We got a bit cautious and a bit defensive. Given the opposition, it's not the greatest of things, but maybe it is. This is pure speculation for me, but it might be something that the manager said is, let's get the lead and just hold on to the lead. We've given away some really, really soft goals recently, and as we kind of hold our shape, we break up the other end of the pitch. Horgan puts in another great cross. Kamberi beats Woods to it. The ball pings off the crossbar, and then Woods nearly takes it back over the line with him anyway.
Yes, the absolute definition of walking the ball into the net. He does. It's a really bizarre kind of reaction when he catches it, and you're just thinking stop, but then he keeps going. He almost ends up throwing the ball back out. But I actually thought the flag had gone up, and it hadn't. Sort of looping header, and another day, that kind of bounces off the bar or bounces off Woods and drops in. Just Flo's luck a little bit out today. I think he might have used it all on that first goal. But yeah, I mean, like I said, even without kind of creating that many clear-cut chances, we always look like likely to score the second goal.
And it comes not long after that. The penalty is a foul from Sowa on Gray. Sowa, such a forgotten entity in a Hearts jersey, that he doesn't get booed, he doesn't get the usual chant we love to give our ex-Jambo friends when they come to Easter Road.
Friends, I think, a loose term, to be honest.
But the penalty itself, I didn't think it was a penalty at the time. Then we've seen the replays at half-time, and it's still... It looks like a foul that if it's on the halfway line, we give it. If it's given in the box, it's usually not given, and we all go, I mean, well, if that was anywhere else in the pitch. So, fair enough. He clatters into him. It's such a dumb
bizarre
penalty.
Bizarre way to kind of go up for the header, because he almost waits until David Gray's jumped before he starts jumping, which, given that he's only a yard away from him when David Gray does start jumping, is a completely ridiculous thing to do, because there's no way he's going to win the ball, and all he's going to do is exactly what he does, which is barrel into David Gray, knock him over. Mark Minelli's standing a yard away from the referee. I saw in the replay at half time and is screaming at him, and I mean, Alamir doesn't even have to think, he just points straight to the spot, and the usual suspects for Hamilton were complaining about it. Darian McKinnon was up and I think he was just feeling a bit naked that he hadn't been booked already in the game.
But we seen him, he looked distraught.
He looked devastated.
He hadn't been
lying
booked,
on the ground. You know, it was. But yeah, it's a stupid foul from Sola, but it's some penalty from Mark McNulty.
Yeah, first time in a long time we've looked at each other when a player stood up and went, he's going to score this.
Yeah, very confident penalty as well. Absolutely blasted it into the bottom right hand corner, sent Gary Woods the wrong way, and I mean, there just didn't really look like any doubt in his mind when he was going to put it. You know, I think given that we've missed a few penalties this season, and at times we've had Flo Kamberi stepping up, and he's not been that confident. Stevie Mellon scored against Elgin.
Yep.
Yeah.
After Kamberi missed one.
Kamberi had missed one, which was a very calm penalty. But I mean, that one, you know, even when, you know, I think there's a brief discussion between Mark McNulty and Stevie Mellon over who's taking it, and you can quite clearly tell that as soon as Mark McNulty says I'm taking it, he's rattling that in the bottom corner, which is exactly what he did. And to have a guy who's that confident stepping up from 12 yards is never a bad thing.
He's a vastly, you've already said it, he's a vastly different player from the guy that came on in the second half at Celtic Park last week. That's maybe the difference a goal can make, as well as a few training sessions with teammates, probably.
Yeah, absolutely. And you know, actually playing games as well. You know, I think people kind of, when these guys like Mark McNulty, they come in on loan from down south, I guess similar to kind of Kamberi and McLaren a little bit last season, although they kind of got off to a little bit of a quicker start. You know, they're coming up here on loan for a reason, because they're not getting first team football at Reading or whatever they are. Playing for Reading's under 23s or development squad and playing, you know, first team game in the Scottish Premiership are vastly different things. And I think the kind of level of match readiness required is vastly different as well. I think you can kind of see that Mark McNulty's first few performances. He comes on against Aberdeen. While he worked hard there, he maybe looked a little bit clumsy at times, similar to Celtic Park. You know, it maybe just didn't quite come off for him. A goal against Wraith and a decent performance against Wraith as well, obviously doing the world of good. And today I thought he was much better. He was a physical presence. He was putting the Hamilton defence under pressure. You know, he was chasing back. He was chasing all sort of loose balls. Great penalty to grab his goal as well. And yeah, obviously working and training and working on match fitness as well, hugely important for him. And again, you know, obviously should be very confident going into the game against Dundee next week.
Yep, so that scene out the first half. The second half, I'm sure the message would have just been, don't do anything stupid, you know, just carry on as things are. We almost scored a goal of the season in the opening minute of the second half. Some lovely build-up play. Gray's cross is cleared over for a corner kick. Mikael Miller goes close with a long-range effort. We spoke a little word on him because I thought he looked decent. We talked about how David Templeton last season was Hamilton's only kind of talented player, their only creative outlet, and they look like they've got the same again in him, because that effort that goes just over the bar and then he's ran Paul Hanlon ragged and then hits the post on a tight angle, and he looks like possibly one to watch.
Yeah, I think he scored I remember watching Sportsman earlier in the season. He scored an absolutely brilliant goal. I can't remember who it was against, but it was from range again at New Douglas Park earlier in the season. I thought he looked pretty good then. I haven't obviously seen a lot of him, but yeah, today I thought he looked very quick, very direct, good on the ball, at times maybe a little bit indecisive, but the one where he hits the post is bizarre because it seems to take about 3 deflections, and I think it hits Ofri Marciano in the face after it comes back off the post, and we kind of scramble it clear. But he definitely looked like a good wee player, and I believe he had a very good sort of scoring record at non-league level down south, so maybe sort of a little bit of the Jamie Vardy about him, or similar kind of player. Yeah, absolutely right, definitely one to keep an eye on.
And yeah, he was really all Aki's had going forward. But in terms of other second half chances, there was a Kamberi effort after some nice build up again, but the shot was blocked. Marciano tips a McMillan effort past the post, comfortable enough save. Gogic has a header that's straight at Marciano, maybe could have done better with it. There's then subs and bookings for about 10 minutes as the Twitter kind of shows, and then there's a lovely dink ball from Horgan, very similar to last week. McNulty's header is a tame effort which is comfortably held. Then Miller hits the post. We get a first sub as Omiyonga comes on for Horgan, and then there was a nice moment where Omiyonga, who much like against Wraith last week, he looks hungry, you know. It's not this is how maybe all young loan players should be, you know. He looks like a guy that's just itching to play football, and he looks so eager to play. So Omiyonga has some really nice build-up play, but there's a flag up for offside, but the crowd show their appreciation nonetheless. And later on in the match, he hits the post as well. And he's a player that I mean, you can't maybe drop anyone from a winning team at the moment, but he's definitely a guy I would like to see a lot more of.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think you're right in what you're saying, that he does look very hungry, and he does look sort of very kind of up for every game. You know, every time he's come on, he's been absolutely bursting a gut to get around the pitch. You know, he's a guy who I think at times can be a little bit, I don't even really know what the word is for it. I was going to say headless, but that's not kind of not, you know, he does kind of charge about at times.
Over-eager.
Yeah, he kind of charges about at times, and there's one where he kind of gets the ball in the box right at the end of the game. He doesn't really know what to do with it. He loses it, and then he chases back and commits a completely pointless foul on Soa, who would have given the ball away anyway. It was completely needless to do. So there's things like that where, you know, that's obviously something he's got to work on. But again, you know, he's young. He's 21, 22 years old.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, that just comes with match experience. You know, he's coming from Serie A, where you know, might be a slightly better quality players playing there, but it's a much slower game. It tends to be a bit frenetic and a bit frantic here. But yeah, I mean, I thought he was good again when he came on today. Very comfortable on the ball. The one that hits the post is a bizarre shot, because it doesn't even look like he's trying to shoot. It looked like a really hard pass that he was trying to play through. It must have come with some force with the way it comes off the post. But yeah, I like him, and I think he's one of these guys who he could be a little bit of a cult hero if he's given a run in the team. Yeah,
and then one other chance to talk about Ollie Shaw replaced Mark McNulty. His first action is there's a corner, which I was kind of moaning about the fact that Hibs had every player back for the corner, but yet 15 seconds later we're 3-on-1 in the counter attack. Ollie Shaw has two guys square, tries to take on the one Hamilton defender, and that should have been 3-0, that chance.
Yeah, I mean, you could see even when he's running through, he's kind of caught in two minds. He's got Mallon, and I think it is McNulty who's absolutely haring up after him. I mean, it just takes you to lift his head up and play it round. I think it's actually Soa who's covering, and you know, you've got two players running through there. Either one of them, I'm sure, would have smashed it into the back of the net. Maybe a little bit of inexperience from Ollie, but again, he's a striker. He's allowed to be selfish.
Given his kind of recent run of form, he's got to be confident as well.
Exactly, and you know, it's one of those where, you know, he doesn't need us to tell him that. He'll be looking back at that and be disappointed. But it's always better to have those moments when you're 2-0 up rather than 2-0 down.
Yeah, so I mean, I'm going to say a horrible thing, but we probably needed Rangers to get a win today. They didn't do that.
It feels unnatural.
Yeah, but so I mean, it's kind of a win-win. It's funny that they dropped points anyway, but Dundee beat Levy, so we're back up to 7th. We're 2 clear of Motherwell, who face Hearts tomorrow. We're now 4 clear of Levy, having played the same number of games. We're 3 points behind a St Johnstone team who I think had lost 5 in a row before today. They'd been in a horrible run, so there's no reason why we shouldn't be eyeing that top 6 finish. We go to Dens Park on Friday against a struggling Dundee team. We then go to McDermott Park in what will probably be a fairly crucial match before the Celtic Cup game. So there is something there for the new manager to work with, and he's got to have that target of a 6th place finish.
Yeah, it's kind of like a nice sort of introduction where you got sort of a team in Hamilton who we should really be beating quite convincingly. We've got a team in Dundee who we should be beating, but have picked up in form a little bit recently, and have had a couple of half decent results. We've got a guy in Andrew Nelson who's been quite impressive since he joined. Got a couple of goals, got a really good goal against Hearts a couple of weeks ago. They got a 1-1 draw at Tynecastle, and then he's got sort of quite a crucial game against St Johnstone, who are sort of really kind of on the same level as us at the moment, the fight for top 6. And then, you know, we have Celtic in the Cup, which is obviously a completely different test altogether. So it's kind of like, you know, it's almost like playing through the levels on like a video game where he's increased difficulty, the final boss as he goes along. So yeah, I mean, you know, a lot of these guys will look at Paul Heckingbottom coming in and saying, you know, this is my chance this is 3 months to really impress him before we go into the summer and make sure I'm a part of this squad and this team going forward. You know, players won't need any extra motivation, and we all know what needs to be done between now and the split. It's about galvanising and going out there and doing it, and you know, again, it's another good chance to see for Paul Heckingbottom to see kind of what we're made of.
Now we can hear from Flo Kamberi talking after the game.
In commentary, we said we weren't sure if you got a touch on that one or not. We said if you did, great. If not, you were doing what good strikers do. You put the goalkeeper off. Did you get a touch on it?
Yeah, I touched it a wee bit. It was not a big touch, but a wee touch is a wee touch, and I was happy the ball went in, and yeah, I'm happy to score again. So, but the important thing is that we have the 3 points. So we keep working on that, and we know that we have to do a few things better. but it's now the first game with the new manager, the first win, so we kept working on that.
How have things been under Paul? He's certainly said that he wants to get the team passing the ball, and we certainly tried to do that today.
Yeah, exactly. It was not so easy because the pitch was not now the best pitch. But you see that the new Gavi, he has a plan. He knows how to play. We have a game plan. He analyzes a lot of things with us in the training. He records the training sessions and try to do the best on the pitch. And I think for the first time today we did well.
He did also say that he wants to see us press the opposition high up the park. We did certainly in the first half keep Hamilton pegged into their own half for long spells.
Yeah, it's always for the opponent difficult if we strikers press them with the front foot. I think like against Celtic when we pressed in the first half, it was difficult. And if you play against a team who plays very well and you let them play, it's very difficult to defend. So I think that's the motto here, that with the new manager we press them all the time, and I think we did that today very well.
You find yourself playing up front with a new partner in Mark McNulty. What type of player is he to play alongside?
I think the partnership with us is getting better and better. That was now the second time I played with him, but we understand each other. We try to play with each other, and I hope in the future is going to be better and better together.
From our point of view, it was an important game today. Big one coming up against Dundee as well on Friday night. Important that we get points in these games to just keep on top of getting into that top six.
Exactly. We are now 3 points behind St Johnstone for the top six place. I think we don't have to look for what the other teams are doing. We have just to focus on ourselves. And if we keep working hard and keep winning, we will be in the top six. But we take game per game. We don't look too much in the future, just week per week.
Dundee got a good win today against Livingston. They're battling at the wrong end of the table, so that'll be a tough game on Friday night.
Yeah, every game I think is a tough game. If you play against Celtic or if you play against Hamilton or Dundee, every game is a tough game. But we just trying to focus on ourselves to do our best performance on the pitch. And if we keep working hard on training sessions where we are weak at the moment, I think we'll be successful in the future.
From your point of view as a striker, you'd gone a few games without scoring. You get one there today. It's often the case that when you get one, you go on a run and score a few. You'll be looking to do that.
Absolutely, I hope so. As a striker, of course, your job is and your ambition is always to score every game, but it's not always easy. Maybe from outside it looks easier than when you're on the pitch, but for me the important thing is just to win games. Like if I don't score 10 games, but we win all 10 games, that would be for me. Doesn't matter if I didn't score. So, but I try with scoring to help the team to win the games, and I'm happy I did that today.
So that'll do us for this week's episode. The extended highlights from Saturday's match are now available online, as well as all the usual other classics, archive matches, DVDs, this season's games, if you're a subscriber to Hibs TV. Next up for us is Dens Park on Friday to face Dundee. The match is on telly for those of us here. I'm sure international subscribers should get the game as well, but keep an eye on the website for all the information on that. No podcast from Dens on Friday though, because unfortunately I can't make it. I know, don't blame me, blame the people at my work. I'll never get away in time for it. So until the next time, my thanks as always to James Delaney for joining me. Massive thank you as always for listening, and join us next time on The Final Whistle.